Pleasant morning again, Mr. Cruickshanks. Thank you again for agreeing to be a part of the Crease with Jamaica Cricket Association. Again, the focus for this discussion and topic is to pretty much know about your journey within cricket, how it began at the Crease. My first question for you is, where did your love for cricket begin?
Well, my love for cricket would have started in the era that I was born. As a youngster growing up in the 70s, you had to be outdoor. And what we played outdoor was either football, cricket. I mean, some other stuff, but football and cricket being the main ones. And while I actually played both, actually I didn't even love cricket as much as I love football. But I would have said that's where it really started. Um, it was just normal and natural for us to gravitate to sports. As I said, being very much the fact that we had to be outdoors. So it just became normal, and then everybody in the community played cricket. So it is the game. It was in the 70s and 80s. It was a very popular game. I mean, still popular, but back then everybody played. Every youngster played cricket.
Okay, so the community pretty much shaped what you played. Which high school or which primary school did you attend?
Well, the district that I'm from is a district in St. Thomas called Fonthill. It's a very rural, real proper rural district. And as I said, the school entered the SDC, I think it was the time. The school entered the Western St. Thomas cricket competition for primary schools. And we played that. Actually, we didn't even have a football competition to mirror it. So cricket was what we played. So every youngster wanted to play. Some of us wanted to play because it allowed us to get out of class. I perhaps may have found myself into that because it allowed you a break. So if school was going to be over, I'd say 2:40. By about any time after lunchtime, you were allowed to go out and play. So it offered us an opportunity to just run out of class.
All right, who was a national cricketer at that time you looked up to?
Well, the guys who I would have been focused on nationally would have been people like Lawrence Rowe, Michael Holding. You'd hear those names, Jeffrey Dujan. Those are the names that you would hear as a youngster. But we largely focus on those persons who played for West Indies. Because when West Indies cricket was being played, you would hear the names on radio, wherever they were playing, Australia, England, you'd hear those. So as youngsters, when we went to play, you chose one of those persons depending on what you're doing. But before that, I mean, I didn't hear about Gary Sobers on radio or hear about his exploits on radio. But you wanted to be a Gary Sobers, a Rohan Kanai, but more to our time, you're going to be either Viv Richards, a Lawrence Rowe, Michael Holding, Malcolm Marshall, those kind of guys. So depending on what you're doing, whether you wanted to bat or you wanted to bowl, you chose one of those stars back in those days.
And you mentioned batting and bowling. Which one were you good at?
Well, I have ended my career a long while now. I'm not sure. I was really supposed to be a person who batted. And when I was a youngster, I was too small to, the bat was always too big, the pads were too big. But batting was really what I was about. And early on in my school career, I started to keep because for me, just doing one thing, the rest of the time was boring. And in the country, playing cricket, you had to do everything. So I started doing wicket keeping. Then I had an unfortunate injury, ball hitting me in my face. And then I moved from wicket keeping to bowling. And I developed that and became good enough at that to become an all-rounder. But in cricket parlance, I would have been a batting all-rounder.
Interesting. And after that evolution, in my opinion, you've developed a knack for execution. Because clearly you've thought about everything. You realize that, batting, bowling, and keeping. And now you're in the execution of the sport itself. When did you realize that you actually had a knack for execution administration? within the realm of cricket?
Well, that would have started even from when I was playing, because when I would have been playing, there's a match coming up on Saturday on the weekend. From the Thursday or the Friday, I began to visualize, I began to plan, knowing who you're going to play against. You begin to plan how you're going to deal with these guys, what you're going to do. If this person come on, if you see through this person, who are you going to make runs of? So you began to plan your innings from then. And, as I went into the Jamaica team later on, you realize that planning your innings was a critical part of you being able to execute. So that was natural. The other part of it is that from a young age, I was always thrust into some form of leadership, not because I wanted to. I don't know what were those unfortunate circumstances that put me there. But I always had to be at the forefront. And because of it, in leadership, you had to plan, you had to find ways to get things done. So earlier out, I got that. And then when I was still playing, I was asked to sit on the board of the Lucas Cricket Club as a youngster. And I think at the time they were having this program of getting youngsters in leadership so that there could be continuity. So I've always had this idea that for me to succeed, I would have to sit down and plan, and then having planned to ensure that the plans were executed properly. So that is where I would have gotten those. And then in 2007, I had an opportunity to work with the Cricket World Cup. And I remember when I was there, I told myself that I couldn't let cricket down. Everybody else, there weren't really other persons on the team were not really cricket persons. I was the only cricket person who was employed in there. So I had to make sure that I didn't let the team down. So I planned and I planned and I planned and I planned. And as it turned out, we in having those executions, I believe from the cricket side, we were able to deliver. So I've always believed that planning is important.
You mentioned the word team, and you also mentioned Lucas Cricket Club. What does Lucas mean to you?
Initially, just a club that was going to help me as a pathway to my goal of trying to play for Jamaica and possibly West Indies. And I didn't choose Lucas, to be honest. As a young man, as I said, I told you about Lawrence Rowe being somebody that I would be interested in. Mm. So I used to try and go to Kensington when I could get in, because I couldn't afford to. In those days, you had to pay to go to a match, and even though it was maybe 5 cents, I couldn't afford it. But I would sometimes get in by my uncle or some other Samaritan would come and say, let the youngsters come in. So I would get a glimpse of him, and I would always pass Lucas Cricket Club on my way. I had a cousin who lived across from Lucas, but he had a tree that if you could go up in there, you could see both Kensington and Lucas at the same time. So there are times when he and I would be in that tree and we're just looking across both matches. Then when I left school, as a matter of fact, while I was at school, I went to Lucas. Kingston College at the time was playing a semi-final, I think, in the Sunlight Cup. And the rules at the time didn't allow me to play for my new school because I had to sit out a year. So while sitting out a year and being at the match, a member from Lucas came to me and said, youngster, which club are you at? At the time, I wasn't at any club. I'd gone to Melbourne and I'd left because I didn't think I was finding my way there. So I said no, and he just went for a form, gave me a form, and I signed up, and I started representing Lucas that same year in 1986. And that was even before I was playing youth cricket in 1987. So that is how I came to be at Lucas. It was my plan. If I was asked that question, I would easily have gone to Kensington. However, having gone to Lucas and then became president, I began to look into the history of the club, and I was amazed at what I found. I realized that Lucas was the first organized black club or club that allowed black cricketers to play in Jamaica. And that fascinated me. And I we went to the National Institute, National Library, and we got them to give us the full history. And along with some discussions I'd had with former Minister Arnold Bertrand, it gave me an idea of what Lucas represented. And then that was kind of filled out. We had a discussion with Dr. Julian Cressa, himself who had played some time for Lucas. So I got to understand the role that Lucas had or played in the development of cricket in Jamaica. So for instance, West Indies' first superstar, George Headley, could only maybe have played for Lucas at the time when he started. Because other clubs, yes, other clubs weren't allowing black people to play and give them that sort of pathway, that we would have at Lucas. And Lucas has always remained that club. Sadly, I don't think we have been able to impart that history as best as we can, both at the national level and even at the club level. But I think it's an history that should be told.
I do agree with you. You mentioned national team, you mentioned just nationalism in general. What does the national team mean to you?
I've been fortunate to represent Jamaica at two levels, at the under 19 level and at the national senior level. Now, we don't play national anthems at cricket matches to start. But outside of not playing the national anthem, there is a feeling that you get when you walk out, particularly if when you walk out, there are other persons in the arena, and you realize that you are actually representing those persons. As a youngster, we used to be told that we must be conscious or cognizant of the fact that there are so many other youngsters playing cricket, and they have selected 14, and out of the 14, you select 11. So you are representing those who didn't make it.
True.
And that didn't come to you. You just figure that, they must attack because those who didn't make it, them trying to find comfort. But when you walk out and you realize that there are persons who are cheering you on, some of them fussing you too. But you get the feeling that these people are who I'm here representing. And then when you go abroad or wherever and you have Jamaica on your shirt or just in your heart, there is no other feeling, I believe, that anyone can have in representing their country that can surpass that feeling. It's a huge responsibility also, because I said whatever you do, you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're not doing this just about you or even your family. You're talking about people both in Jamaica and diaspora who are clinging to the name and brand called Jamaica. So it's a very serious thing. And for any youngster who goes on the field and don't understand that, I don't know what it would take for you to have that feeling of representing your country, more so when you win. I mean, when you win, I played in an era where there were people in the stands, and when you won, it was a feeling that it's hard to describe.
Interesting. Another question. Noticing the changes within cricket, it's no longer as long as before, but yet still we do have it when it comes to, test series and all of that. What is your stance on T20?
Well, T20 has done different things. Financially, it has allowed cricketers to live much more comfortably, much more certain. They maybe can plan better in terms of their life after cricket because of the money that is involved in T20 cricket. And because of the T20 cricket has come franchise cricket. So persons can now go around the world and play the sport, just like footballers, and you make money. I am not one of those who believe that we should limit players' ability to earn, because their shelf life is generally very short. So a sports person, usually their career cricketers, their career will finish sometime when they are like 36, 37. The special ones like Chris Gayle may go until they are 41 and 42.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it is okay and it's right for a cricketer to maximize their ability to earn while they can. Because having spent so much time developing their craft, you can imagine that they haven't had as much time to do other things that will allow them to work outside of the sport when they are done. So I believe that that is one thing that T20 cricket has done. The other thing it has done in terms of the playing of the game itself is that it has allowed players to, when you see guys fielding in T20 now, no matter how much, every generation think their generation is the best. And
Yes.
we perhaps thought we were the best set of fielders and batsmen. These guys, I see do some fielding things. We couldn't do it in our time.
Fine.
No matter
Fabian
who
with this
want to say
fine.
otherwise, we could not do those things. We never thought of doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the outfields are also different. They have better outfields to play on these days. And but I see them doing some things on the field. Batting wise, I also see them do something that we wouldn't have contemplated doing. So T20 cricket has, and what it has done has caused spectators to come back to the sport because we're losing spectators. So when we have test matches, except for a few marquee series around the world, you don't have people turn out. But once you have a T20 game, and we see it here when the Scorpions are playing, because it allows stars, especially franchise people, to come in. And even at the local level here in Jamaica, I mean, the SDC T20 competition is
Yes.
phenomenal in terms of the people that comes out to support it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have the same kind of crowd at other matches. T20 has really given a fillip. It has allowed people to come back to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not one of those who believe it is the death of any other formats. I believe we just have to work out how to position all the formats to get the best out of all of them.
In that regard, what is your hope for cricket? Longevity, the evolution of it all, what you see for cricket later on.
Well, my thinking is that cricket is going to evolve to a place where the longer versions are not going to have the same appeal. And no, I can't tell you the timeline on that. But I believe we're going to see more 20 overs, 15 overs, 10 overs, because the world has moved to a place where people don't have the time to sit out and watch a long game. Right? There are certain persons who still do that. But the more we get to a younger generation and the next generation to come, we're going to find that person are going to wonder, you guys play 5 days of cricket, you're serious? And 4 days and all of that. So we're going to have that. I don't know how long, but I do believe that we will come to a time when the longer versions are not as appealing as they are now. And as a matter of fact, we're seeing that over time, right? I believe we're still going to have to change some of the rules and the conventions about cricket to make it even more appealing. So in time, we're going to see something different. You see football doing some things. It's confusing for now for them. And I believe we're going to have to do the same thing in cricket because the new spectator, the new consumer is going to demand that the sport change. And I just think we have to do that. And that is what we have to also prepare the next set of administrators to think about, not just to see cricket the way it traditionally is. And that's part of the problem with the sport because it's a traditional sport and all of its things is about tradition. We're very slow sometimes to react to the need to change. But we have to change that philosophy.
True, I agree. You had said, unfortunately, you're thrust into cricket, but I'm going to say it was fortunate. If you should describe your journey at the Crease to know, I need for you just one word to describe it.
One word.
I just need one word. One ball, one bat, one word.
Destiny.
Exactly, and it was fortunate then. It was fortunate, Mr. Cruickshank. Again, I thank you for your contribution to cricket. I'm not sure if anybody has said it to you. Your journey is always continuous, and the fact that you mentioned destiny, it has been an interesting one. And again, it was amazing. It's always amazing to listen to you on your, your history on cricket, your thoughts on cricket, your opinions on cricket. And again, this was an interesting episode of The Crease, and Mr. Cruickshank, thank you for agreeing to do this interview.
Well, I'm glad that I could have learned something to this particular series. I'm hoping to listen to the more interesting interviews, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. I thank you. If I'm the first one, then I guess that allows me to demand some things as this program gets wider. I can make certain demands.
No
But I'm glad to have contributed to this program.
Again, thank you so much and have a pleasant day.